going to do the show.
Stay Tuned brings together local experts, journalists, civic leaders, and regular people to have tough conversations for a stronger St. Louis. Add your voice to our conversation, and you're at the table as we stay on top of current events and go deeper, bringing more light and less heat to the issues that matter. From the 9 network of public media in Grand Center, this is Stay Tuned.
Well, at about halfway through the Olympics, I think it was, the ratings for the Summer Olympics were across the country. Showed that St. Louis had the second or third top three highest viewership in all of the country. So we're going to use that as an excuse to talk about the Olympics on Stay Tuned this week. Kind of an informal Olympic conversation, if there is such a thing. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here, Deanna Price.
Thank you.
Olympian.
I appreciate you having me.
Oh, it's been awesome to get to know you and to see your story and to get to know your family. And then, of course, my buddy Ryan Dean. Colleagues before the Olympics, brothers in the Olympics now.
Yeah.
It was a good trip. We'll kick it off with you, Deanna. What is the world still spinning? And that's a really bad pun because you do the hammer throw.
Well, the world is still spinning. Right when I got in on Friday, first thing, they were like, we want to honor you at a football game. And I was all for it. I was like, one second. I was like, give me like an hour so I can like get ready, get dressed, and look actually presentable. Because, when you travel about 14 hours,
right.
you don't look the best.
Right.
But no, it's fantastic. I've been going to elementary schools. I've been signed up for all the high schools to really go and just kind of talk to them and really tell them what they need to do to get to the next level. Because if you work extremely hard, you have less chances to fail. That's how I always put it out, because if you don't have the time and effort that you put into something, you're not going to get a great result if you don't put in the time.
You've embraced this role of kind of taking advantage of this platform. It seems like. I mean, you're not afraid to speak to kids or to inspire
it's great.
others.
Well, that's kind of. It's great being an Olympian. It really is. But it gives me a chance to really reach out and impact someone else's life. That's what I've always wanted to do, is really reach out and make someone else happy. If I could just impact one kid's life to say, hey, it's okay to be different. It's okay if you want to go for something else. If you just aren't happy with what you're doing, like step out of the mold, and so you can see from a distance what you need to do and accomplish. If I can impact one kid's life, that's what makes me happy. That's what makes my goal just exciting, because I get to just sit there and kind of bask in just knowing that I made them happy, and that just makes me happy.
I mean, we talked a little bit about your story, but I just want to make sure people kind of know it, because it's awesome. I love the fact that you said the first time you picked up the hammer.
I did.
What happened?
All right, first time I picked up the hammer, I was at Gary Cooper's house.
Which, by the way, show us the hammer. You brought it.
I did.
Because it's not a hammer that you hit a nail with.
It's not.
It's a shot put with a cable.
Yep, it's an 8.8 pound ball on a 3-foot 11-inch wire with a handle. What you do is you do 4 consecutive turns within a 7-foot diameter ring, and you throw it as far as you can. I can throw it over 240 feet. So it was really good. I ended up, I'm the first ever female in NCAA history to throw it over 73 meters. And, I'm a 2-time NCAA champion, and now first-time Olympian, and hopefully more to go.
I think definitely more to go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And hammer throw is kind of maybe up and coming a little bit.
It is.
For the U.S., because this is something where, and I'm getting to a point here, but the Europeans and other parts of the world have experience,
yes.
kind of a leg up in the experience on you guys, because you don't do it in high school here.
We saw a world record at the Olympics.
World record was at the Olympics. She's been throwing for 19 years. Anita.
And what country again was that?
Poland.
Poland.
And she's one of the nicest people, so I was like, good for her. I was so excited, and I was actually sitting there, I was like, can I compare, when you were throwing for 5 years, like compare my 5 years against your 5 years to see where I'm at? And I'm actually like right next to her, so I was like, okay, that's great. And she's such a nice person, and it was just great to see that the world record happened. And I also got to experience watching Michelle Carter, first ever female shot putter to win the gold medal, which was great. And the first time ever having U.S. place first and second in the men's shot put. Like, it's really nice because the throws have never really been like big, really strength, yeah. But now we're coming through the forces because of all the great, USC has been doing great things for us, USATF. We're able to really get that passion and show people, be like, hey, we can fight with the biggest countries in the world now. I was like, that's why I feel like we just wrapped up those medals this year, because we just had this ability that no one else really kind of saw coming, but we are so strong and so great, and I can't wait to come back in 4 years and get a medal. That's my goal, get a medal.
So you said family, and every time I've talked to you, you always talk about we got here, or we didn't. I mean, you saw that in other athletes here locally and other people we ran into.
No doubt. So the best part of the trip for Casey and I was meeting the local Olympians and their families, and I always would say this when I did my reports: cheer for them because they're local, but also cheer for them because they're really good people. And you probably met the other local athletes that were from the St. Louis area.
I did.
And is there a bond there because you guys can talk about the St. Louis area?
Oh, yeah, there's always one. You know, when you sit there and you walk into the team meeting and you go Cards, and people are like, yeah, you know, they get hyped and excited. I'm like, okay, there's my St. Louis people. Yeah. And you know, it's always gonna be a bond because this community is always so great and so friendly and so kind that, you know, there's always things that just kind of run it through the muck. But if you actually look at the genuine people, they're so great, they're so kind, and it's worth fighting for. When I get in that ring, I sit there and I just think that I'm doing this for a reason. I'm doing it not just for myself, I'm doing it for my mom and dad, for my friends, for my coaches, for even people that I've met for the first time, so I can say that, you know, we did this together because you impacted my life by just meeting me. If I met you, you've impacted my life, and I appreciate it. And if I'm yet to meet you, I'm very much looking forward to it.
It's awesome.
Impressive.
And more specifically to what you're saying, the dad's crying really got me. I mean, your dad teared up.
That made me bawl.
Jaden Cox.
Jaden Cox from Missouri.
His dad teared up. I mean, this is.
Colleen Quigley's mom said as soon as she saw her daughter run, I cried. She goes, I just cried because my baby's running on the Olympic stage. And that was during prelims, and then she said, and she's going to run again. Like just those were the moments that, because people ask, hey, what was your favorite part? I'm like, that was it. Like talking to the families because they know the hard work you guys put in.
Yes.
They've seen it. They've sacrificed as well. And then to see you guys out there, I just can imagine what that's like sitting in your seat.
What was it like being in the stadium for you? Because I know there are a lot of venues, and just so people know, I don't know how much you got to get around to the different parts, but they were spread out across.
Oh, they were very spread.
Very spread out. The main Olympic Stadium was kind of in its own area.
Yeah.
Other parts were in different parts of town, but I think the track and field, you know, kind of resonates with people. That's something we can kind of comprehend of what it might be on a smaller scale. What was it like being in there for you?
So when I went to the day sessions, and you were one of the day sessions, Usain Bolt ran 2 prelims,
oh my gosh.
and I got to see him run live. And I was telling folks, Usain Bolt is like something I've never seen. I'm not talking about the speed, but just the following. We've seen American athletes. We've been to the Cardinals games. We've seen Rams games. We've seen, you know, bigger stars walk into the Edward Jones Dome. And while fans are excited to see him, they wear the jersey. It's different with Usain Bolt. It's like an electric vibe, like he's like a rock star walking in. And there was foreign journalists when they had to walk through the media row, taking their cell phones, trying to get selfies with Usain Bolt. Now, like, you know, in the American press, you don't do that. Like, when it's like there's a unspoken rule.
I may have a picture with Usain Bolt.
Yeah, wait, did you?
It wasn't technically a selfie, but someone snapped it.
Okay, I can imagine everybody back in the American press being like, "What?" No, but you know, it's like when you're in the press box, you don't cheer.
Yeah, no, it's different.
It's very different.
There,
I mean, it was like rules out the window. I'm cheering for my.
They wear the team uniforms. There's the guy from Greece at the track and field. He had the team uniform on. He was hilarious. He looked like the character of like Little Caesar's Pizza, like with like, like spiky hair and big belly, and he had on the track uniform doing his reports. It was different for sure. But then what was also about Usain, so Ryan mentioned that media row, like where you walk through after you get off the track. There's like a little you have to like
swirl. You go all the way through,
and you stop for a couple of different cameras that have a connection to you, the news channel of NBC and us. And Usain Bolt, everybody wants a piece of him, and he stops at every single camera, dozens of cameras. So not only is he a rock star, but he's really nice. It seems like, and really giving him his time.
From what I've seen, he's a good person because he's just able to really reach out there to people and just connect.
Yeah.
And that's the whole key of being an athlete, is that you are a role model, and he does a great job saying, because I remember sitting there and he was really in the middle of an interview, and I'm watching. And he stops the interview because our national anthem started to play.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, that is amazing.
Wow.
And because just giving that respect for that country, because that person has put in so much work, and hearing that music, I was just sitting there, I was like, good job, Bolt. I was like, very good job.
Did you run into any other big names?
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Another rock star.
I did, actually. I ran into Michael Phelps. So I'm in the elevator. It's 18-floor building.
In the athlete village.
In the athlete village of the we're in
So,
building 19.
so Phelps stays with everybody else in the athlete
I
village?
think he was coming to visit.
Okay.
Okay, because I haven't seen him because I guarantee I would have ran over to
Backstage
him.
at Copa. On the beach.
So I hit the down button. The door's open. There's Michael Phelps. I'm like, oh, there's Michael Phelps. He has his hat on, glasses on. He's looking all inconspicuous, like, okay, I'm in the zone.
Phelps'
like,
face, was it?
Oh yeah, it was Phelps. He was just like, nope, he's like, not gonna look. And I walk in. I'm like, oh yeah, that's Michael Phelps. All right. And I was like, I see you. Hi, Michael. And he just takes me. He starts. He kind of did a little smirk, and then I was like, I know you, but you don't know me. But one day you will know me.
Nice.
Look at
And then
you.
he just started smiling, and I started smiling. We kind of laughed. It was great. So, how was what experience have you had?
So back to the athletes' village. What I was fascinated by, they said this was the most socialized Olympics ever, obviously because the social media becomes more prevalent. But I did find it fun to follow Usain Bolt, the gymnastics team, other people on their Instagram and other accounts, because you see them in the pictures. Like Usain Bolt was staying in a room that looked just like ours.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you're in the athletes' village. We were kind of in what you might call the media village.
Media village,
But
yeah.
it was just so funny to see. You think of like the U.S. basketball stars on a cruise ship off the coast. You kind of just think, oh, well, that must be how Simone Biles and Usain Bolt do it too. But they were.
No, they were in the village.
They were in the village,
Olympic
and
experience, yeah.
it was pretty cool. I don't know how Usain Bolt fit in the bed,
Yeah.
but he was in the village.
So for us, obviously when I was getting ready to go, and I know Casey had this experience, everybody who you would talk to, the thing they would, crime, Zika, that was, what they wanted to talk about because that's what they're hearing on the news leading up to it. And we actually had to go through security briefings. What was it like for the athletes? Did you guys have to go through security briefings, and what did they say to you about Zika?
Okay.
Talk about that a little
It
bit.
was really nice because I feel like for my experience, I didn't really have any of those issues. I didn't even, there was like one mosquito I saw and I took the bug spray. I was like, literally killed it, got rid of it. But in the village, it was great. They had a truck that would go around and fog it,
Yeah.
make sure, there was no real mosquitoes in the area to really kind of get people sick. But I never had any problems with that, never had any issues with people trying to get into the village. It was pretty great.
What about the briefings before? Did you guys have security briefings?
They went through, not really. Like what they did is they brought us through on the bus, and then you came through, and then they searched you, they grabbed your bags, and they took it to where you're staying. And that's kind of all it is. They just said, be careful, make sure you go with another person if you're going somewhere. And then, if things kind of evolved, like they said with the taxis, they weren't allowed to get close to the village, so they dropped you off a mile away from the village, and they said just don't do it at night. It's too dangerous, or make sure you get, an Uber or, the certified taxi, so then it could actually take you to the village. They were very on top of it, made sure our security was great, and I couldn't be more thankful because I felt protected. I was definitely nervous because I was like, people were saying, oh, there's bomb threats or there's issues and all the Zika virus. I was like, oh my God. I was like, don't let me die in Rio, people. Do not let me die. But no, it was great. I couldn't have a greater experience.
When we were, our first night there, we ran into a gentleman who's been, 9 Olympics, Alan Abrahamson, and he wrote a book on Michael Phelps in '08. And we interviewed him, and the interesting thing he was saying was that before every Olympics, there's always this buildup of, it could be terrorist threats, it could talk about the traffic or whatever. Zika was a big one down in Brazil. And there's all this, oh my goodness, it's going to be doom and gloom. And then once the cauldron is lit, nothing. And it's great. And he predicted that was exactly what's going to happen again, and he was right. I mean, it was.
If you go back to London, they had the anti-missile rocket launchers on top of apartments, worried about terrorism. In Sochi, there was a huge terrorism concern, and here it was less international terrorism and more local crime. We did see. I felt fine. I felt safe. I felt like you're in a big city. There are a lot of opportunities for situations. It's a country of large disparities in terms of some very amazing, beautiful buildings down on the beach, and then favelas up in the hills where there is, developing world, third world poverty. Awesome.
When was like your aha moment there? I mean, was it this opening ceremony? Was it when you were about ready to throw? Like that moment, you're like, I'm in the Olympics. I'm throwing for USA.
It was going to be at the prelims when I'm sitting there and thousands of fans are watching me and I'm coming out in a single file line. And I'm just like, all right, big deep breath. I was like, big smile. I was like, this is so exciting. And then just seeing everyone, I started feeling kind of overwhelmed and started kind of getting a little anxious. And I wasn't throwing great during warm-ups. I was getting really nervous. And then all I see is my mother running from the top of the stadium, sprinting with American flags, yelling, Deanna! And I picked her out. I was like, then after that, I got back, I calmed down. I was like, it's just like any other competition. This is what you're here for. I was like, so every time I tell my mom, I was like, thank you, Mom, for doing that, because I'm telling you, when she did that to me, it just, everything calmed down. And I had my aha moment, but it lasted about 3 to 5 minutes. And then I was like, okay, back to competition mode.
I think people would be happy to hear that, because the folks in Lincoln County and beyond really rallied around, because your dad likes to tell me the story that he didn't want you to do that GoFundMe account.
No, they didn't.
But you know, it ain't cheap to go to Rio on last minute's notice.
No.
And you put up that GoFundMe and people responded.
Yeah. Well, we kind of thought for a minute, we're like, oh, we might make the Olympic. We're thinking $5,000. So Mom and Dad saved up money, and the travel agent quoted my dad $20,000. And we were just floored. We're like, oh my, see, and my dad's like, that's fine. We'll just send your mom. That should be, oh my God, probably like, hopefully 10K. We'll try to send her there. And, you know, I felt they were panicking and they were worried. And, you know, for them to every single step of the way get me to where I needed to be, I was like, they can't miss this. They cannot miss my first ever Olympic appearance. So I set up the GoFundMe and it just blew up. I didn't expect to reach the goal, and the community just went crazy. And it was just the first day, it was like $3,000. I was like, oh my God. And then after that, the next day, it went up to 10. And within 11 days, we hit $18,000. And I cried. I bawled every single day. Me and my mom would call each other. We're like, oh my God, Mom. And we're just bawling. And I couldn't be more thankful. I really couldn't, because dead serious, whenever I saw my mom, I felt a sense of calming, and I was able to compete to the best of my abilities. And I went into prelims 6th, and then I came out, made the women's hammer final with Amber Campbell. And then it was so funny, because someone asked us, they go, so why were you like so excited? You know, you guys didn't medal. I was like, well, we're one of the first ever females to ever make the women's hammer final. I was like, this is a huge stone for the United States.
In U.S. Olympic history, the two of you were the first two ever.
Yep.
And when you say it this way, you finished 8th, right, in the final?
Finished 8th.
You're 8th in the world.
8th in the world.
And you know, Colleen Quigley finished 8th in her event, South St. Louis, a native, and that's what her dad said. Like, she's 8th in the world. And when you think of it like that, I'd be running around Olympic Park. I'd be like, with the American flag. Absolutely. I mean,
no, it was just an amazing moment. It really was.
One thing I noticed, Casey, you mentioned it, social media, a lot of the athletes. You went on a social media blackout, right? You didn't go on. Now, why did you do that?
Well, for me, a lot of people saw me on opening ceremony, so I started getting messages like crazy. So I was like, you know, it just was kind of overwhelming. You really wanted to stay focused. And for me, social media is just kind of something that kind of takes your focus off what's actually really happening.
My question, so obviously the big names, they're going to make millions off the Olympics from endorsements. You're in a sport that's not that well known.
Yep.
What is it like trying to keep that Olympic dream alive? Because I know you probably have to do other jobs, or do you have to do other jobs? Can you talk about that a little bit?
I do have to do other jobs. You know, I had an athletic scholarship that gave me about $1,000 a month to survive on, which I can make that work. That was great. But now that I'm graduated, I'm gonna have to get a position. It's so funny because people are like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, so, and a lot of times the athletes tell what their actual job is. And because kind of hammer throwing is not kind of what everyone sees.
Sure.
It's not a main event, which I'm trying to really get more light on, because it's so much fun and it's great and get other people involved into it. But you don't make much money in it. You know, you have hammer challenges around the world, but that costs money to go there. Hopefully, you know, I do well enough that people want me to come so I can show what I can do. But it's, you know, you have to have love for it. You have to have the love for it. If you don't have the love, you're not going to survive.
Well, and Gwen, you know Gwen Berry, of course.
Berry.
So Gwen Berry, a fellow St. Louisan, who also, she was leaving SIU as you were getting into SIU,
yes,
Carbondale.
And she was a pro athlete at SIU, and we trained together for 4 years.
She delivers insomnia cookies overnight.
She does.
And often works a couple jobs, if not 3. She was telling me, just to try to, and she does the overnight so she could have the daylight hours to train.
Exactly. Like that's right what I'm getting into right now. I'm trying to find a job position so I can work for 20 hours a week for accounting or whatever they want me to do. I'll do it if they give me 20 hours a week so I can have some money so I can go and live my dream and be an Olympian again.
And that's what's cool about those moments. Like we saw Ryan Held from Springfield, Illinois, crying, and Michael Phelps consoling him because you know the work they put in and the sacrifice, and that's what's great about the Olympics.
So, and speaking of bringing it home to St. Louis is definitely, I said at the top, the second or third in the top 3 in terms of national viewing. Justin Hartman, our producer, sat down with Frank Viverito of the St. Louis Sports Commission for a little more of a broader perspective on St. Louis and sports.
Frank, thanks for joining us. For the past 3 weeks, we've been transfixed with the Olympics down in Rio, and most people know St. Louis hosts a fair number of big-time sporting events right here in St. Louis throughout the course of the year. So what's the impact for those kind of events for the community and the region at large?
Well, an event connected to the Olympics brings a lot of things to St. Louis. Number one, it highlights our Olympic legacy as America's first Olympic city and the first Olympic city in North America. We just welcomed the first Olympic city in South America to the family of Olympic cities. It brings inspiration to our city. Kids come and watch and want to perform and compete, and that's very exciting. It gives us visibility, national television coverage for several days from St. Louis, the beauty shots, the positive image that we look for. It brings visitors to town who spend money. So all in all, it adds to the quality of life and is really a home run for St. Louis. St. Louis is a great sports town, and it's something that we're passionate about. So when you can bring a big event in, whether it's NCAA basketball or Olympic gymnastics or college football or figure skating or diving or wrestling, it connects both to our passions, and it brings economic development, and it adds to quality of life, and it adds to positive image. And so it's sort of an all-around benefit to the region.
So what other types of events are we looking to bring to St. Louis?
I mean, we want to keep bringing Olympic-style events. That's one of the reasons that we were in Rio this year with our partners from USA Gymnastics in hopes of bringing the Olympic trials back to St. Louis in 2020. We have been working with United States Swimming. We'd love to bring the Olympic trials in swimming to the Dome. That would really be a fabulous event. We want to keep bringing NCAA championships, wrestling, volleyball, soccer to the region. We want to bring college football to St. Louis. We're talking, with the new athletic directors at the University of Missouri and the University of Illinois to bring more events to the Dome. And we're always looking kind of for the next thing, something new, something different. E-gaming, e-sports perhaps is on the horizon, and you want to find ways to keep St. Louis on the map, to entertain St. Louisans, to keep doing positive things for the community.
How will Rio be remembered? How will you remember it? How do you think others will remember it?
Oh my gosh. How I will remember it is the first experience to open up the new life for me. It's a new door. That's how I'm going to remember it for me. For others, they're going to be seeing just the beauty of Christ the Redeemer, the beauty of the country, the opening ceremonies, and people are going to remember the medal count, how we did amazing and we did so great, and that's what people are going to remember. They remember champions, and they're going to remember, hopefully, their hometown heroes, and that's going to carry on for legacies, and it's going to open doors for new people to come in so they can do the next great job.
I think the games will be remembered for a long time, and the reason why is because you had such star power for the U.S.
Yes.
And Usain Bolt. So you had arguably 3 of the best Olympians of all time. In this game.
Yes.
You had Simone Biles,
Yep.
Michael Phelps, and Usain Bolt.
Yep.
So I think the games will be remembered for many, many years.
Yes.
It's the question about how the city will be remembered. I actually spoke with a Brazilian journalist, And it was kind of like what you just said, how your experience, it opened the door for you. They're hoping that this opens the door for a lot more opportunity, and it's not just a show that they saw for the last several months, the city putting on a show. So they try to improve education, the roads, they try to make it look good while we were there. And the journalist was saying, we hope that it will be permanent change. This is not just a show, that there will be real changes in education, real changes in the poverty, real changes in the road and the infrastructure that they're building. So there's a lot of hope, I would say, from this journalist that she was kind of sharing what the Brazilians were hoping for.
Yeah, we talked to a lot of people who were saying that it was great. They felt like the security was awesome for the Olympics.
Yeah.
Will that continue?
Will
you know,
it
they were
continue?
protesting with the police officers and firefighters who weren't being paid and things of that nature. So they have a lot of issues to work out there as far as the city, and I think there is some hopefulness, even from those that we talked to. Obviously, we very anecdotal and just kind of small slice of people we were able to talk to, but even those who were kind of critical or skeptical, they still were, I felt like, hopeful in terms of where the city was headed post-Olympics. And then looking ahead, I just saw an article today. Who are the stars of 2020?
Yeah.
And Jaden Cox is on a list of 5 stars that they're already looking at, our local Olympian, and I think we might be sitting at the table with him.
And hopefully, you'll be throwing for a medal. That'd be great. Yeah.
I'm going for it, hands down.
Thanks for taking us along with you.
Like I always say, you know, just because you're a pro athlete, that you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for the kids, you're doing it for the community. You are going to be an idol of someone. And so if you can just be happy and do good things, and good things will come down your way.
You brought good things our way.
Okay.
Thank you, Deanna Price.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Ryan Dean.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate
Thank you, guys.
your hard work and for being here too. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.